have a question to start. How many of us had one of these books to read when we were kids? That's what I thought. And that makes us incredibly lucky, because bookstores and libraries are incredibly rare in South Africa. And where they do exist, they are tiny and they're badly stocked. Now, we know people need books to learn and to imagine and to explore, so why do we have this problem? Well, the book business is expensive. It costs a fortune to set up a bookstore or a library. And even a small store needs thousands of books just to keep customers coming back. And you need lots of floor space for shelves. And you have to be dependent on foot traffic, so you need space in a mall where the rent is expensive. So the margins are low and the risks are high. And if you want to try set up an online bookstore, well, you have to be prepared to lose a lot of money at first, and even then. You're in a country where very few people have credit cards or can get online to use them. A few years ago, the Center for the Book gave free children's books to over 7,000 rural homes. But they had no existing way to get the books there. In some places, volunteers used wheelbarrows to carry the books from a post office to homes and schools. If you live any distance from a wealthy city suburb, books are simply not a part of your landscape. The problem is particularly desperate when books can save lives. This is a clinic in Tanzania run by an NGO called CCBRT, and they treat 120,000 people with disabilities every year. And now they're building a maternity hospital. And to train nurses and midwives, they have to order their course books by post from Cape Town, 5,000 kilometers away. A leading neonatologist working there recently said that training with these books can save many of the 45,000 newborn lives lost every year in Tanzania. That baby. But I know that the cost of getting the books there is absurdly high. By the time a book travels to a printer and a warehouse, is shipped across countries, stored again, displayed, and finally purchased, its cost has risen 4 times over. Now, one popular way to deal with this problem is to put books on mobile phones, and this can work well. This book is a free reference for nurses, and it gets about 1,500 visits a month, about half of those from developing countries. And that's already 10 times the number of printed copies sold. A free novel by Cape Town screenwriter Sam Wilson called Contacts has been read mostly on Mixit by over 63,000 teens from every part of South Africa. And already over 20,000 students are reading Siyavula free maths and science textbooks on their mobile phones. But there are still obstacles. No publisher has quite figured out how to make these books pay for themselves yet. More importantly, to read a book on a mobile phone, you need airtime and data and electricity. And you have to read on a small screen that can't handle complex images. Worst of all, internet access is not what we really need it to be. If you look at a map of 3G coverage in South Africa, from a great distance, it looks like you can get online anywhere. But as you zoom in and get closer to the ground, you see that coverage actually extends in hundreds of tiny spines out from city centers, leaving big gaps in coverage only a short distance from major towns. Books on phones may be the way of the future, but they don't work for everyone today, and we need a solution now. But people are resourceful. Somehow they find a way to go to school and study. Where do they get their books? Most of all, they photocopy. There are photocopy shops in every town in the world, churning out pamphlets and posters and flyers and CVs and books. You see, unlike book selling, it's quite quick to get a photocopy business up and running and profitable. For a monthly lease of only a few £100 and a small space to work in, you can get a business up and running selling thousands of sheets a month. As a result, the photocopy printer may be the single most common distribution channel for publishing in the developing world. Copy shops will laboriously scan and print the books their customers find and bring in. And because those customers often can't find or afford a book in any other way, the shop is performing an important social function. But they have to do it illegally. Because by law, in most countries, you can't scan and print a copyrighted book. And you definitely can't sell that book to anyone else. As you can imagine, publishers are terrified by copy shops. when I was a publisher some years ago, we even tried printing our books in a special ink that we thought wouldn't photocopy well. We were wrong. And the more our books were copied, the fewer copies we sold, and the higher we pushed our prices. And the more this happened, the more we became convinced that copy shops could never be trusted, that they didn't understand our industry, and that they were our sworn enemy. And then one day, I got tired of thinking that way, because it is exhausting and stupid to have a sworn enemy. I thought, if copy shops are solving our customers' problems and putting more books in the world, then shouldn't we help them do it better and faster? What if we made their jobs easier and legal? What if we let them print from a whole library of books on a simple website? And what if we made that website so fast and so easy to use that it was more profitable for the copy shop and more cost-effective for their customer to pay for the service than to keep copying old books the hard way? Only a local store would have to be online for an entire village to have access to books. And then, could publishers make money selling books through copy shops? I decided to find out. So I gathered a team and, working with the Shuttleworth Foundation, built a website called Paperight. And on Paperight, anyone can register for free to download and print and sell books. Some books are free to download, and for others, the publisher charges a rights fee. Amazingly, publishers can make the same margins selling these downloads as they do from their fancy editions, and still, often, the total cost to the customer is less than that fancy edition sold in a mall. Instantly, every copy shop is turned into an entire bookstore. Even in the most remote village, every school has access to new textbooks that can boost literacy and help teachers teach. Every hospital with a laser printer can train new nurses and midwives with up-to-date information. And every child with a few rand can go down to their local store and print a chapter of their favorite novel and immerse themselves in that magical world that most of us once took for granted. In this smart audience, there are readers, and there are writers, and there are publishers. And we all have one goal: to put every book within walking distance of every home. I believe we can do that in 4 years. And our most powerful tool may be the humble copy printer. Thank you.